My boyfriend told me I was selfish for not wanting him to sleep over at his female friend's place. He said I didn't understand trust, that I was trying to control him, and that if I had a problem with it, that was something I needed to work on. A few hours later, he sent me a selfie. He was with his female friend group, smiling, relaxed, like the whole conversation meant nothing. Across the picture, he wrote, "Some people trust. Some people don't." It was not a normal selfie, he was lying in her bed. When I called him out, he didn't apologize. He FaceTimed me instead, not privately, in front of her, in front of their entire group. He laughed while they watched, told me to get over myself or get lost, and acted like I was the embarrassing one for reacting at all. Later that night, one of his friends messaged me and said I should grow a backbone if I wanted to date someone like him. Then he texted me back, he's giving me one last chance. What he doesn't know yet is that this is the moment everything starts falling apart for him. And I believed him sometimes what he said, and I told myself I was being insecure, dramatic, maybe even a little controlling. But the night he sent me a selfie from another woman's bed, smiling like he'd just won something, I realized this wasn't about trust at all. It was about power. And I didn't know yet how far he was willing to take it. It started on a Tuesday night, nothing dramatic, no fight, no raised voices, just a casual text that landed wrong the second I read it. He said he was going to crash at his friend Lily's place after they finished hanging out with their group. He added a laughing emoji, like it was supposed to make it lighter, like I was supposed to already be cool with it. I stared at my phone longer than I wanted to admit. I wasn't angry yet. I wasn't even upset. I was confused. I asked why he couldn't just come home. We lived together. Not officially, but most nights he stayed over at my apartment. His clothes were in my closet. His toothbrush was next to mine. This wasn't a long-distance relationship or some casual thing we were still figuring out. He replied almost immediately. He said I was overthinking it. That Lily was basically one of the guys. That I needed to stop projecting my insecurities onto him. The word insecurities hit harder than it should have, because it was a word he liked to use whenever I questioned anything he did. I told him calmly that it made me uncomfortable. Not angry, not accusing, just uncomfortable. I even added that if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't sleep over at a guy friend's place out of respect for him. I thought that was reasonable. Apparently, that was my mistake. His response came slower this time. When it did, it wasn't gentle. He said I was being selfish, that I was trying to control who he was friends with. That trust meant not putting limits on each other. He said relationships shouldn't feel like rules and restrictions, and if I couldn't handle that, maybe I wasn't mature enough to be with him. I remember sitting on my couch, phone in my hand, feeling that weird mix of guilt and irritation. Part of me wondered if I was actually in the wrong. I'd never been the jealous type. I had male friends. I wasn't against friendships. But something about this felt different, and I couldn't explain why without sounding like the crazy girlfriend stereotype he kept implying. I typed out a long message, then deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, I just said I wasn't trying to control him. I was asking for reassurance. He didn't reply. An hour passed, then two. I told myself he was busy, that I should let it go, that I didn't want to be the kind of girlfriend who freaks out over nothing. I turned on a show and tried to distract myself. That's when my phone buzzed again. It wasn't a text. It was a photo. The picture loaded slowly, and I remember my heart pounding before I even fully saw it. It was him, lying on a bed, not our bed. The sheets were light-colored, unfamiliar. There was a woman's headboard behind him. He was smiling, not a casual smile, a smug one. Across the bottom of the photo, he'd added text, "Some people trust, some people don't." I felt something drop inside my chest, not heartbreak, not yet. It was more like humiliation. Like I'd been set up to react, and he was already enjoying it. I stared at the picture, zooming in like that would change something. I could see Lily's arm at the edge of the frame, just a hint of it. Enough to make it undeniable where he was. I didn't respond right away. I didn't know how. Every reply I thought of made me look exactly how he wanted me to look. Emotional, insecure, unreasonable, so I waited. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. Then I finally asked, "Are you serious right now?" That's when he called me, not privately, on FaceTime. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity won. The call connected and my stomach turned immediately. He wasn't alone. Lily was there, so were two other friends. They were all sitting on the bed, drinks in hand, laughing like they were mid-party. He angled the camera toward himself and said, "Say hi." I didn't say anything. He smirked and said, "See, this is what I mean, you're making it weird." One of his friends laughed and asked if I was the girlfriend he was always walking on eggshells around. Lily didn't say anything at first. She just smiled at the camera, the kind of smile that pretends to be innocent but isn't. I told him quietly that this wasn't funny, that I didn't appreciate being put on display like that. He rolled his eyes and said I was embarrassing myself, that I needed to get over myself or get lost. He said it casually, like he was ordering food, not talking to someone he claimed to care about. I hung up. My hands were shaking, and I hated that he could do that to me so easily. I hated that part of me still wanted him to call back and apologize. Instead, my phone buzzed with a new message. It wasn't from him, it was from Lily. She said if I wanted to date someone like him, I should grow a backbone, that he was out of my league emotionally, that not everyone was cut out for relationships built on trust. I read that message over and over. It felt rehearsed, like they'd already talked about me before I ever became part of the conversation. Like I wasn't a person, just a problem they were diagnosing together. I didn't reply to her. I didn't reply to him either. The next morning, I woke up to another text from him. This one was calm, controlled. He said he didn't want to fight, that he thought I'd had time to cool off. Then came the line that made my stomach twist. He said he was willing to give me one last chance. He said if I could admit I was wrong and stop being selfish, we could move past this. If not, he said maybe we weren't meant to be. I sat there in my quiet apartment, phone in my lap, replaying everything. The photo, the call, the laughter, the way he'd made me feel small, then offered forgiveness like a favor. I almost apologized. That's the part I don't like admitting. I almost typed out the words he wanted to see. I almost bent myself into something easier for him to deal with, just so things could go back to normal. But then something else happened. Something he didn't expect, because while he thought he was giving me a final warning, I was finally starting to see the pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. I didn't know it yet, but the one last chance he was offering was actually the moment he lost control. And that realization scared him more than any argument ever could. I didn't respond to him right away. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because for the first time since I'd met him, I wasn't reacting on instinct. I wasn't trying to fix things. I wasn't trying to calm him down or prove I was reasonable. I was sitting with a feeling I'd ignored for months. The feeling that this wasn't the first time he'd made me feel small. It was just the first time he'd done it so publicly. I went through our old messages that morning. Not looking for proof, not trying to build a case. I just wanted to understand when the shift happened. And that's when I noticed something that made my chest tighten. Anytime I'd express discomfort, even gently, he'd use the same language. I was overreacting. I was projecting. I was selfish. He never actually answered the concern. He just reframed it so I was the problem. That realization didn't make me angry. It made me clear. I didn't text him back. I went to work. I answered emails. I laughed at a coworker's joke. On the outside, I looked normal. Inside, I was quietly detaching from a version of myself that had spent too long asking permission to be respected. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. Another message from him. This one sounded softer. He said he didn't like how things ended the night before, that he felt attacked, that Lily had felt uncomfortable after I made a scene by hanging up. He said this was exactly what he meant when he said I didn't trust him. I noticed something then. He never once asked how I felt, not even a fake check-in. It was all about his discomfort, his image, his narrative. I replied with one sentence. I said I needed space and time to think. That didn't go over well. Within minutes, he sent another message saying space was just another word for punishment. That adults talk things through instead of withdrawing. That if I walked away now, I'd regret it. The implication was clear. He believed he was the prize. He believed I'd come back. That night something unexpected happened. One of the friends from the FaceTime call messaged me, not Lily, one of the others, a girl I barely knew. She said she wasn't trying to get involved, but what happened the night before hadn't sat right with her. She said the way he spoke to me made her uncomfortable. She said it wasn't the first time she'd seen him do something like that. I read that message twice. Then she sent another one. She said Lily wasn't just a friend. Not really. She said Lily had a habit of getting close to men who were already in relationships, that it always started the same way. Late nights. Jokes about insecurity. Trust tests. She said everyone in the group knew it, but no one called it out because it was easier not to. My hands went cold. I asked her why she was telling me this now. She said because the selfie from the bed crossed a line, and the mocking FaceTime call crossed another. She said it stopped being drama and started looking like cruelty. That word stuck with me. Cruelty. I thanked her and put my phone down. I didn't cry. I didn't spiral. I felt strangely calm, like something had finally snapped into place. All the confusion I'd been carrying suddenly had a shape. Later that night, he showed up at my apartment. He didn't knock softly. He knocked like someone who expected to be let in. When I opened the door, he smiled like nothing was wrong. He said we needed to talk in person because texts were too emotional. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. He told me he was disappointed in how I handled things. That Lily felt attacked. That his friends thought I was manipulative for refusing to communicate. He said he was still willing to move forward, but only if I could admit I was wrong and promise not to interfere with his friendships again. I listened without interrupting. When he finished, he crossed his arms and waited, confident, expectant. I told him I wasn't apologizing. His expression changed, not angry, offended, like I'd broken an unspoken rule. He asked me what I meant. I told him calmly that what he did was disrespectful, intentional, and humiliating. That sending a selfie from another woman's bed wasn't about trust, it was about provocation. He laughed. A short, dismissive laugh. He said I was twisting things to play the victim. He said I was lucky he was still here giving me a chance to fix it. That's when I said something I'd never said to him before. I told him I was done. He didn't believe me at first. He said I was being dramatic. He said I'd calm down. Then he said something that confirmed everything I'd been suspecting. He said I wouldn't find anyone who'd put up with my rules the way he did. I told him to leave. He didn't storm out. He smirked. He said I'd be calling him within a week. Then he walked out like he was the one ending things. For a moment, I wondered if he was right. Not about me calling him, but about loneliness. About the silence that followed. About the fear of being alone after you've been convinced you're hard to love. Then my phone buzzed again. It was Lily. She said she didn't appreciate me turning people against her. She said she'd always been honest about her relationship with him. She said if I couldn't handle a confident man with female friends, that wasn't her problem. I didn't reply, I blocked her. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. Then the messages started coming in, not from him, from others, one by one, people from his circle, some apologizing for staying silent. Some admitted they'd seen this pattern before. One person sent me screenshots of a group chat I'd never been meant to see. In it, he joked about testing me, about how he knew I'd react, about how it proved his point. Reading those messages felt like being slapped awake. I didn't confront him with them. I didn't need to. The truth was already doing its work. A week later, he messaged me again. This time, the tone was different, defensive. He asked why people were treating him differently. He said Lily was upset. He said the group felt divided. He asked if I'd said anything. I told him I hadn't said a word, which was true. The shock came when he realized he couldn't control the narrative anymore. His final message was short. He said he never thought I'd actually walk away. He said he underestimated me. That was the first honest thing he'd said in a long time. I didn't reply. Because the real shock of his life wasn't losing me. It was realizing that the power he thought he had over me disappeared the moment I stopped trying to prove my worth to him. And that was something he would never get back. If you've ever been gaslit like this, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. And remember, you're not alone.